So as I said, what we have done till now, we have tried to understand the sales organization, we understood the structure of the sales organization, we understood the sort of life cycle of the sales organization. And after understanding that, we understood two methods, we discussed two methods of to understand how many people I need in my organization. As I said, at that point of time also, there are a number of methods. We only discussed two. We went ahead because now that I have a sales organization, now that I have people in my organization, the next thing is how do I ensure that they perform? And we learned that performance is a product of two things, which is motivation and training, and that's what we discussed. Well, now that they are ready to perform, we went ahead. We have to give them a platform to perform, and that platform was sales territory. And therefore, we discussed that how is the sales territory formed, what is routing and scheduling, and the very important concept that we understood while discussing the sales territory was that we have to be fair to everyone, and therefore the potential of every sales territory has to be same. If someone is trying to speak, just unmute yourself and speak. Well, now that I have a sales territory, so now how do I judge their performance? And for that, we have sales quota. What is sales quota? Well, sales quota is a quantitative goal. It's a quantitative goal assigned to a specific marketing unit, such as salesperson or territory, for a time period. Now, this is extremely some very important words. Number one, quantitative goal. It is not something that it is something which will be measured. So when we say that you have to sell 10 units, you have to sell 10 units, and that's what is measured. It's just like your exams, passing marks are 40%. It's a quantitative goal assigned to either a salesperson or a team or a territory, and again, very important thing, for a time period. So every organization decides, it may be for a month, it may be for 6 months, it may be for a year, but you have to help your people understand that if they have to achieve this goal, then they have to achieve it in what time period. And that's how we define sales quota. Some important, why sales quota, I think, yeah, it's for motivating salespeople. And you would say, why motivating? We are always motivated when we achieve something, and it motivates us to go further. Plus, we need a goal in our life. The salespeople also need a goal. You just can't tell them, go ahead and sell. You need to give them a goal. Go back to the theories of motivation. When we were discussing the theories of motivation, we discussed that you need to give goals to people, and that's what keeps them motivated. Yes, it provides a quantitative performance standard, and because it provides a quantitative performance standard, you can actually show to your salespeople, hey, listen, you sold 8, and that is why you have been marked this in your performance appraisal, while you sold 10, and that is why you have been marked this in your performance appraisal, right? It obviously helps us to identify a good salesperson, and very important, tighter sales and expense control. And what do I mean by this? Go back to our lecture on sales territory where we discussed about routing and scheduling, and we discussed that how one salesperson may waste time and achieve lesser goals, while another salesperson may utilize the time properly and give you a better revenue, and we discussed an exercise for it. So sales quota for all these reasons becomes extremely important. If you ask me, the most important thing is to provide a goal to people. We think that all of us can paint a very good painting on a blank canvas, but the reality is that it becomes difficult. It is easier if we are given a title. Is that title a goal? If we know the path on which we have to go, it becomes easier for a person to perform rather than giving an absolutely blank canvas. And therefore, for motivating salespeople, sales quota becomes extremely important. What are the principles of sales quota? Very simply, you must have done this concept of SMART, the principle of, if anyone knows, this is the most important. What is this? It has to be specific. So you can't tell, okay, you have to sell. Specific, that you have to sell in the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It should be measurable. Now, what do we mean by measurable? Again, you have to sell in the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you have to sell 10 units, 20 units, 100 units. You should be able to define it very specifically. It should be achievable. Now, this is one of the most interesting thing, and I would link it with this. What do we mean by achievable? So are we saying that, okay, great. So your passing marks are 1%, 2%, 3%. No, it should be achievable with optimum effort. What does it mean? That the goal should be something for which a person has to put in effort, for which a person should have certain skills. Because if you do not do that, then you will never be able to differentiate between a good salesperson and a not so good salesperson. At the same time, we are not asking for a goal which is not achievable at all. So we are not saying that you have to, the passing marks are 90%. So you have to set a goal which is achievable with optimum effort with everyone. That helps you to differentiate, that helps you to understand a good salesperson from a not so good salesperson. And at the same time, it allows everyone to perform. The next thing, it has to be realistic, as I said, so it has to be achievable with optimum effort. And yes, finally, it is time bound, which again we have discussed in the previous definition. So you have to define the timeline, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is. Once we understand the importance of sales quota, the next thing are what are the different types of sales quotas, where there are various ways in companies define, and I'm going to discuss some very, very simple ones. So the first one, the first one, monetary sales volume quota. What is monetary sales volume quota? So let me give you an example. Monetary sales volume quota is when you tell your salespeople that you have to earn a revenue of 10,000 this month. So it's monetary. You have defined that you have to get a revenue of 10,000 this month. The moment you do this, so somebody who achieves more than 10,000 becomes your star performer. Somebody who achieves less than 10,000 becomes a problem. So it is defined. It is defined in terms of the amount that you expect from the salespeople. Now, what is unit sales volume quota? Unit sales volume quota is when you do not say that you need to sell 10,000 rupees in this month, when you say that you have to sell 10 units of this product. And you tell, is someone writing in the chat box?
No, ma'am, I think people are trying to join. That is because no one is typing and no one is trying to speak.
Okay. So, and what is unit sales volume quota? So unit sales volume quota is when instead of defining the revenue, you say that you have to sell 20 units this month, right? This is the minimum that you have to sell. So anyone who sells more than that, becomes your star performer, and anyone who sells less than that is not your star performer. Now, you would most probably ask me then, why should we have monetary, and in what situation should we have unit sales volume? So the example that comes to my mind right now is gold, bullion, right? So gold has a fluctuating value. One day it is certain value, another day it has a certain value, right? The price of gold keeps changing every day. Now just imagine that maybe I should explain it with a slide. Let me include a slide. Yeah, so let us assume, so we are talking about gold. And now I do the monetary sales quota, and therefore I tell my salespeople that you have to sell minimum, most probably 10 lakh this month. Okay, so or whatever. You have to generate a revenue of 5 lakhs this month, right? Um, Now, what happens to gold? Gold, as I said, keeps changing the value. Now, it may so happen that gold may be at a certain value. I don't know what is the value of gold today. Can someone check on internet and tell me? If quickly we can do that. Or let's just assume that the value of gold is
Ma'am, 48,800.
okay, great. So let's assume the value of gold is 50,000, right? So if it is 50,000, then they have to sell certain units, and those units would be by, yeah, so they have to sell 10 units. So with this, then they have to sell, please let me know if I'm wrong. They have to sell 10 units, okay? I'm assuming 50,000. I'm assuming the price is 50,000. But the price changes, right? And after some time in the same month, the price most probably becomes, let's assume, 47,000, okay? Or it becomes 45,000. For the sake of simplicity, to understand, it doesn't really go that much up and down. The moment it becomes 45,000,
11 point.
yeah, they have to now sell 11 units, okay? If it is 50,000. Now, this is not fair in the salesperson. This is because this price change is not in his hand. It's not even, it's in the hand of the market. And therefore, selling 10 units is easier than selling 11 units. I mean, given a choice between 10 and 11, most probably he would like to sell 10 units, but now he has to sell 11 units, right? So it's not really in his hand. Also, maybe for the organization, it becomes difficult because they don't know that how many units will they actually sell. So what happens in such a situation? The organization may decide that we will have unit sales volume quota, which means irrespective of the price change, the salesperson is not bothered with the price change. Let it become 40,000, let it become 45,000, let it become 50,000. You have to sell 10 units or 12 units or 15 units, right? I mean, is this a set rule? No, please understand. At the end of the day, an organization decides whether they want monetary or whether they want unit. But usually the thought process happens like this, because something which is not under the control of the salesperson can be really penalize him for this. And therefore, we decide that you have to sell 10 units of the product irrespective of the price fluctuation. So if the price becomes more, he earns more for the company. If the price becomes less, then he is not ready to be given. But in,
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes,
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, isn't it easy for a salesperson to sell a product when its price is lower than before? So, isn't it more of the same thing?
so,
Because,
can someone just repeat the question? He wasn't very clear.
Ma'am, he's saying that if the price of the product is less, isn't it easier for the salesperson to sell?
Yes, true, absolutely true. But see the reverse side. What if the price increases? I gave you only one example, it became 45,000. What if it becomes 55,000? Right? I mean,
yes,
you
ma'am.
can't change your decisions based on, okay, if it becomes less, then you will decide. If it becomes more, then I will decide. I mean, the organization. We have to be fair. And therefore, irrespective of whether it increases or whether it decreases, this is the quota. This is what you have to sell. Do I make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. But finally, but while there is monetary and where there is units, what is very popular is the point sales volume quota. And what is point sales volume quota? So let me give you an example. Now, an organization may not just have one product. When I'm talking about monetary and I'm talking about unit sales volume quota, somewhere I'm assuming that I'm only talking about an organization which has one product. While in reality, an organization may have more than one product. They may have two, three products. And all products may not perform the same. In fact, they never perform the same. So your one product may be a star performer and your another product may be very, very difficult to sell. Given a choice, every salesperson would like to sell the star performer product because it is easier to sell it. Who wants to sell a product which nobody wants to buy or which is difficult to sell? But as an organization, we have to sell both. We have to sell that star performer product also, and we have to sell the not so star performer product also. So what do? We have point, sales, volume, quota. Now look at this. In this, a company has three products, A, B, and C. And what have we done? We have given weights to the product. Now, why have we given weights to the product? Because obviously product number C is difficult to sell. And therefore, the weight given to it is more. So while product A and B, which are easier to sell, we have given them only one weight. We have only given them one weight. Product C, which is difficult to sell, we have given it 2, because otherwise, why will the salesperson sell it? Now, the problem for you that I'm going to leave this problem with you because I want you to solve it, and I will end the class and open the class, end the recording and open the class for discussion is, here are two salespeople. So they have all been given the same sales quota. They've been given 20,000, 20,000, and 10,000 for product A, B, and C. Now, this is so interesting. Both salesperson have achieved the same revenue, 44,000 and 44,000. So should they be treated equally? Should they be given the same marks in their performance appraisal? If yes, why? If no, why not? And at this point of time, let me end the recording because I want you people to solve it and we will discuss it in the class. You have 10 minutes. I will share the screen with you. Please try to solve it and try to solve it. And after 5-10 minutes, we will solve it together.